License Law and Commission Rules, Chapter 3. In Chapter 3, you will be presented information on the Florida Real Estate Commission's composition, duties and powers, as well as licensing requirements and statuses. In the end, you'll be able to describe the DBPR and the DRE and their function. You'll be able to describe the Florida Real Estate Commission composition and member qualifications, general powers, and duties. You'll be able to explain the difference between active and inactive license status and the regulations regarding involuntary inactive status. You'll understand the difference between multiple and group licenses. Vocabulary in Chapter 3 consists of the following. Current mailing address. The current residential address a licensee uses to receive mail. P.O. boxes are acceptable. Address of record is where DBPR sends official communication. Mailing or email address, they're equally important. The Department of Business and Professional Regulation, also known as the DBPR, is under the executive branch. Remember that word, executive. There's a secretary of the department that has a lot of power. They regulate and license businesses and professionals. They're granted legal powers by legislature to investigate complaints, issue subpoenas, issue cease and desist orders, and issue citations. The DBPR also consists of the Division of Professions and the Division of Service Operations. The Division of Florida Condominiums, Timeshares, and Mobile Homes. This division provides consumer protection for Florida residents through education, complaint resolution, mediation and arbitration, and developer disclosure. It regulates condominiums, cooperatives, timeshares, and mobile home parks. The Division of Florida Condominiums, Timeshares, and Mobile Homes is also charged with providing arbitration programs to handle recall and election disputes for homeowners associations. Homeowners associations are governed by Florida Statute 720. The Division of Real Estate has a division director. They're employees of DBPR, and they provide services needed to administer law, administrative, and ministerial duties. Their office is located in Orlando. The Florida Real Estate Commission, that is the regulatory body charged by Florida legislature to protect the public and to regulate real estate brokers, broker associates, sales associates, brokerage firms, and real estate schools and instructors. They also foster education of licensees. The composition and qualifications. There's 7 members of the commission. 4 are brokers who have held an active license during the past 5 years. 1 is a broker or sales associate who has held an active license during the past 2 years. And 2 must be consumer members who have never been licensed. 1 of the 7 must be 60 years of age or older, and they're exempt from civil liability. The term of office and consideration. Members are appointed to 4-year terms by the governor. They're confirmed by the Florida Senate. No more than 2 consecutive terms can they serve, and they are accountable to the governor. They receive no salary to serve. They do receive $50 per day for each day of official business and any expenses that are pre-authorized, and there are monthly meetings. The Commission's general powers and duties. Executive. They regulate and enforce the license law. They foster education of applicants and licensees, adopt a seal, and establish fees. The quasi-legislative. They create and pass rules and regulations and regulate professional practices. Quasi-judicial grant or deny applications. They have the ability to suspend or revoke licenses and issue administrative fines. They also make determinations of violations. License renewal. Licenses renew twice a year, March 31st and September 30th. Licensee in good standing who is a member of the U.S. Armed Forces is exempt from renewal requirements during active duty and for 2 years after discharge from active duty. If the military duty is out of state, the exemption also applies to the licensed spouse. Effective July 1, 2017, DBPR is required to issue a professional license to active duty and former active duty members of the U.S. Armed Forces and their spouses who hold a valid real estate license issued in another state or foreign jurisdiction. An active status is required to perform services of real estate for compensation. Voluntary inactive status is where a licensee requests inactive status. Voluntary inactive licensees must complete education and renewal requirements. Involuntary inactive status. Failure to renew a license before the expiration date is why most real estate licensees' licenses go into involuntary inactive status. After 2 years, involuntary inactive status is null and void, and the licensee would have to start all over again. Involuntary inactive license reactivation. If it's 12 months or less, and we're talking about continuing education, because remember, post-licensing, if you fail to get that done, you have to start all over again. There's no sort of grace period for that. So, 12 months or less, the licensee needs to complete a 14-hour continuing education course, pay the fees, and their license can be reactivated. If it's more than 12 months but less than 24, they must complete a 28-hour commission-prescribed education course and, of course, pay the fees, and their license will be reactivated. When a broker's license is suspended or revoked for discipline, the licenses of the sales associates and broker associates employed by the broker are automatically placed in involuntary inactive status. Associates may become active again under a new employer. A license is null and void when it no longer exists. A license has been involuntary inactive for more than 2 years, may be revoked following a disciplinary proceeding, or a licensee can voluntarily relinquish their license, which does not involve disciplinary action. A license that ceases to be enforced means a licensee cannot conduct business. 2 causes would be broker changes address or sales associate changes employer. The DBPR must be notified within 10 days of either change. If you don't notify them DBPR within those 10 days, they will make your license involuntary inactive. Multiple licenses are issued to a broker who qualifies as a broker for more than one business entity. For each business that a person is a broker, a separate broker license must be obtained. Group licenses are issued to sales associates and broker associates who register under an owner-developer. The owner-developer sends DBPR a list of legal company names, and the sales associate or broker associate has 1 license and 1 employer.